Today we're going to talk about a variety of... All right, today we're going to talk about a variety of Fischertechnik's topics, including motors and gears, and also the chains and the track mechanisms that are available. I have a simple model set up here with a couple axles, so you can see we've got two axles on each side. Just to hook some gears up to it, I've got a motor here to kind of power the whole thing. So let's go ahead and apply some power to the model. So right now the motor is not connected to this thing up here. Let's go ahead and attach this chain link here to my model. And let's put on a cam gear just so you can easily see the rotation going on here. All right, let's give it a shot. So there we go. We have a simple model, get some power going here. You'll notice that this chain is pretty loose. Let's go ahead and stop it. One of the things I struggled with when I first got into Fischertechnics was how to adjust this chain. Now, how it works is, I want to thank a Fischertechnics friend over in France, I believe, who sent me a video on how to do this. You snap these guys apart. Now, they won't snap this direction. You have to bend it 90 degrees. So once you bend it 90 degrees, you have to figure out the right direction. This direction won't come apart. This direction pops right apart. So you want to make sure not to force it. So this is a little bit loose. We're going to take out one little link, and that should tighten the chain up quite a bit. The other tip I would give you is you'll see there is an opening where these things can snap apart versus the other side they're closed. You want these openings to go on the inside of the gears. Otherwise, they can be very difficult to snap apart, especially when we get to the tank treads in the back there. Very, very difficult to take apart if you have the chain on with the open side facing the tracks. So try to avoid that if you can. Let's go ahead and attach this. This should be a little firmer now. And you can see that looks a little better. It's still a little bit loose, but you probably don't want to put too much tension on your model. But you have a little bit of wiggle room there. Okay, let's go ahead and stop this now. Let's leave this on. Now that we've got some power attached to this, let's turn this around this way. Well, one thing, let's just talk about the cam gear here, this kind of cam assembly here. It has a lot of really cool uses to it. One thing is you can make an actuating arm that goes in and out like that direction using the cam. Kind of like on a train, you'll see a train will have that piston that kind of goes in and out and pushes in a piston. Same type of a mechanism. You can attach an arm to this with a little hinge on it and another arm, and you'll get a nice actuator, linear actuator out of the cam. So keep that in mind. It's a useful part. Let's talk about gears now. And you'll notice that we have this kind of, they call it a hub, like a hubcap and a collet system. And this is how you use a gear. You place the one piece of it on one side and then put the screw on the hub, kind of cap in the middle, and it tightens down. So if you want to attach it to an axle, so here's an axle. Now it's kind of hard to push through. I'll unscrew it just a little bit, and I can push it through, and then I can tighten that to that axle, so it stays on pretty well. Then let's talk about the different gears. Now we've got. First of all, I'll mention that there's two types of ways to attach a gear, at least two types. You have these kind of quick snap mechanisms. So I have a newer style, a nylon axle, and you'll see it's got a smaller hole that is flat on two sides, and it will snap onto the end of an axle. Very convenient. I like this. However, these axles tend to be a little bit too flexible in a lot of situations, and not always good for transferring power across distances. So I kind of like the metal gears better. I'm sorry, the metal axles. Here's not the smallest one. There's a smaller one, the one I just put on here. That's has 4 teeth on it. This one has 10. The next size up here has 20. The next size up from that has 30, and so on. And this is great because you have nice, even ratios to work with. So if I put this smaller one on, and let me show you how this attaches now, a little bit different one. You have a kind of a little a sleeve that goes in here that the axle goes into, and as you tighten it, it tightens onto the axle. So let's go ahead and put this on. This is a 10 teeth one. I'm going to slide it on the end there and just tighten it on. Now if I put a chain between these two, I'm going to get a 1 to a 3 ratio. Likewise, I could take this off and we put on this 30 teeth one here. And now when I hook up a chain across these, I have a 1 to a 3 ratio. And I could put in a 2 to 3 ratio. And I could actually go from a very small one to a medium-sized one to another larger one. Now this is really an important concept because what it allows you to do, you see this thing spins very, very, very rapidly. I mean, lots of revolutions per second. But if you're trying to move a conveyor belt or something like that really slowly, you can't have that kind of speed going. So what you can do is go from a small gear to a larger gear, and it's going to slow down, significantly slow down that rotation. So let's give that a try over on this side here. We'll take off this the smaller gear. Let's put on the 30-tooth gear. I'll move my engine a little bit closer here. Going to need some more teeth or more links in my chain. Hopefully I have enough here. So I'm going the right direction. Oh, yep, I have more than enough, so let's take a few of these off. Alright, so now the effect we're going to get here is a much slower rotation. So you have this going quite a bit faster. So you can see it's spinning quite a bit faster, but now this is going, oops, it's going much slower. And again, I could go from this rotation then to put a small gear on the end of this and go to a larger one and keep slowing down and create a system of gears or like a gearbox. Or you can even create a little transmission system with the gears. There's really a lot of different things that you can do with that. Those are the basic gears. I'm not sure if I talked about these. These are bevel gears. So if you have rotation going around this axis, but you want to get rotation now going around this axis, you could use bevel gears to kind of change 90 degrees the direction of rotation. I mentioned the quick snaps, a little different type of mechanism to snap onto one of the nylon axles. All right, let's talk a little bit about some different other different kinds of gears here. We have an engine here, and on this engine we have a worm gear. Now a worm gear is going to engage a gear at a different angle. So it's kind of changing the direction. This also spins quite a bit faster, but moves the gear slowly. So again, another nice way to gear down things. You also have, this is kind of a system of worm gears. So I can put this together. Oops. Yep. Not sure I'm connecting this properly. Anyway, you can put these together to create some other kind of interesting gearing mechanisms. This is another worm gear that the axle would be fixed, and you can connect something onto this. Let's connect this thing onto here. And then as this turns, it's going to raise this structure up. So this would be great for creating doors that automatically open, or you want to move a platform up, you can spin it. So again, worm gears are very, very useful for moving something, you know, kind of in one direction. Couple other interesting things here. This is a rack and pinion system. And again, I have a gearbox here to slow down the rotation substantially. We have different types of motors in Fischertechniks. This is a small, I think this is called an XS motor. It has a worm gear, I don't know if you can see that, built onto it. There is a number of gearboxes. For example, here's a gearbox that I can snap onto the small motor. So it's gearing the rotations down quite a bit. But one of the handy things is creating like some kind of a rack and pinion system. This makes for a nice, again, linear actuator motion. So I can hook this up. Let me go ahead and hook this up. Snaps into place. Let me connect power to this guy. All right, we'll go ahead and turn on. So you can see it moved it one direction. I'm going to change the polarity here. And back again. Rack and pinion. And you can connect things to this. There's also another type of a rack system. So this is another type of a rack. You can connect these underneath. There's a lot of different uses. You can even attach this to this gear, and this is going to move a gear rather slowly as this rack goes in and out. So very good for precise moving gears in precise movements. You can also actually have a motor that would run along this track. So if you wanted to have a cart or some kind of device move along a track, you could do that as well. Last thing I'll show you are the tracks. These make for great tank treads as well as conveyor belts. They use the same chain as we saw earlier. This chain is a slightly larger. It works almost identically. It's the same distance. It fits the teeth perfectly of all the gears, just like the red chain does. I believe it's a little broader, and it has like little square nubs on the end where you can attach these tank treads, and I can pop one of these off. So there's a little tank tread there that can be attached to this. Again, you want to make sure that the open side of the chain is outward, not inward, because then it becomes very difficult to work with the tank tread. Great, again, tanks, robots, autonomous bots that run around the floor, and conveyor belts doing some kind of a factory simulation. Awesome. That's it. Thanks for tuning in.